one of our favorite guests, recurring guest, Vince Redmond, who is not only a BCBA, he is
well, he's somebody who's worked in this field for 20 some odd years,
Right.
worked with people who are on the autism spectrum,
Yes,
but he is an LMFT, a licensed
LMFT,
marriage and
right,
family
right.
therapist.
Maybe
But
I
he
missed
started
that.
out as a therapist, doing ABA,
Yes.
and then he became, so what's great about that is that he knows both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had the experience, but I certainly have had the experience of going to a therapist who didn't know about autism and didn't know about ABA,
Right.
and talking to them about the difficulties that my husband and I were having just to live,
Right.
and get along with each other and live and keep a roof over their
Yeah.
head. And their advice to us was, well, you need to stop that ABA. It sounds like it's really wreaking havoc on your life.
Right. Thank you, Vince, for joining us.
Yeah, so Vince knows better than that. So
Well,
long
yeah,
intro, but
and
Vince is the kind of person that you could go to who could actually help you to be able to solve the issues so that you could keep doing ABA.
Right, and it's difficult when you see a therapist that doesn't know ABA. I can attest to that because I've had that experience.
Yeah.
So Vince, Shannon, you want to start because you had a
Yeah,
question from a parent.
We had a question from a parent, Vince, that this is a mom who has been on it and is a single mom, and she herself is a PhD student, and she's really, really motivated, but sometimes her child has meltdowns, and I think that we've all experienced what that's like. And her question was not, how to, prevent the meltdowns, but and not how to calm her child, but how to calm herself down after the meltdown so that she could get sleep or get back to work or get back in the groove, because emotionally we have a reaction, right, Nancy?
Yeah.
And so maybe you can help us, Vince, all of us, to know, how do we get ourselves back in line after it's over?
Right. A lot of it is planning and education. We'll start with that. The first thing is making sure that they're well aware of the function of the behavior, what the behavior comes, because what it's doing is you're now releasing some of the responsibility, maybe some of the guilt or the uncertainty of why the child is having the tantrum, right? If you know why the child's having the tantrum, maybe it's to escape something or maybe it's to receive something, and you're following the behavior intervention plan, you're releasing some of that responsibility because you're following what has been strategically set up to do. So that's the first thing, is being very well versed, very well educated, very well being very comfortable with the behavior intervention plans that are set for those particular behaviors that the child might have. So that would be the first thing I would think of. But then the next thing is having a set of coping strategies, right? We teach this to our kids, is having a set of coping strategies that we rely on, that we can go back to, that we can dig out every time to calm ourselves down. And these have to be things that are determined and selected before we're in these emotional situations. So maybe it's taking a walk, maybe it's breathing techniques, maybe it's I have one dad that has a punching bag in his basement and he goes and starts working on his punching bag, those types of things. So we have to have, everyone's different. Everyone has different things that help them cope. Listening to music, watching a video, we have a set that we have to have quick access to, things that we can rely on, things that we can get to in multiple environments, but also things that we know that are effective. That will immediately reduce their anxiety. As soon as anxiety goes down, our thinking, our capabilities, our ability to problem solve go up, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you, this is something from my experience. If you have a child that has severe OCD, and I had a situation yesterday where Wyatt wants to go home and put his backpack away before he goes anywhere.
Okay.
And he started to escalate. Mm-hmm. Is that a situation where you see the tantrum coming, okay? Because there's 2 days this week where he can't go home first. Mm-hmm. And he started to escalate, almost not quite into full-blown tantrum. Is at that point, do I redirect? What do I do at that point where I see the tantrum about to happen? How can I avoid the tantrum completely by being prepared?
Right. Two things on that one. One would be, since you knew the schedule ahead of time, would be trying to prepare him ahead of time. So maybe giving him a visual schedule, maybe giving him constant reminders throughout the weeks that on Tuesday and Thursday we have to go to X before we go home. Right. Giving him time to actually process this change before it actually is occurring, because oftentimes what happens when their routines or their expectations change, which we don't think is last minute, it might be the day of and it's like 7 hours later, but to them it's the day of, it's a last minute change. They didn't have enough time to process their expectations. Oftentimes this will reduce their anxiety because they've had days to process it. But now you're in this situation, right? So now, like you said, you're on your way to the new location, he's starting to escalate. I think what you said is perfect. You want to redirect his attention, redirect his thought process to something else. Usually something that's a little bit more preferred, something that's a little bit more pleasurable, something that's going to keep his anxiety down, right? It's a thought stopping mechanism. He stops thinking about the obsession and he starts thinking about something else. It could be songs on the radio. It could be what did he do in school. It could be playing an IC game. It could be playing what kind of car game. You know, anything that would be appropriate, but it's going to shift his attention from the obsessive behavior. If we continue to talk about the obsessive behavior, that might actually increase his anxiety in that situation.
Okay, so stay away from talking about it's okay to change, we're going to the doctor.
You want to do that beforehand.
So do that beforehand, like how many days beforehand would you say? And let's say this is an appointment on a Friday. He's used to every Friday going home, putting his backpack away, having time to indulge in his self-stimulatory behavior that we have in a very timed thing. And I think the anxiety comes from not being able to indulge in that self-stimulatory behavior.
For sure.
And yeah, so if he's not able to go splash in the basin and do his painting for a little bit, he freaks out.
Right. But if he's prepared a week in advance and every day it's reviewed every day, then he still sees that he gets to go splash in the water and paint in the basement, but it's at a different time, right? It's not that he doesn't get to do it, right? Because when things change, again, when I say last minute, I'm taking it from Wyatt's or the child's perspective. When things are changed, immediately it's thought that they're not going to be able to do those preferred, those highly repetitive routines and situations or in activities. In this situation, he would see he still gets to do it. It's just on a different time schedule.
Okay.
But but your question, how long? I would do it. I would start in the beginning of the week and practice and rehearse it all the way through.
Well, and what I love about your answers, Vince, is that both of them focus on the fact that when these things happen in the moment, you know, we're having that reaction, but if we take steps beforehand, we're better prepared.
Right.
And it does take some forethought, and a lot of times we find ourselves there in the moment and we didn't do it, right?
Right.
But it is one of those things that instead of focusing on that in the moment, just finding the time beforehand. It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
It's a lot of thinking, and we're not
a lot
perfect,
of work.
right? Things change at the last minute, right? Where there is no opportunity to prepare. And when those happen, if he's had other situations where we have prepared for it, right, we can reflect back on those. He can reflect back on those. You know, this is a change, just like it was when we had to go see the doctor and you had to paint later. Remember that? This is going to be like that. So then he has a positive experience of going through, you know, seeing a visual reminder and having his schedule change, and yet he's still got his preferred activities. So even though we're not perfect, if we do it a good majority of the time, he'll have that in his repertoire as something to reflect back on.
So you're saying literally do a visual schedule where it's mom pick up from school, go see Dr. So-and-so, go to see the thing he's freaked out about is he doesn't have time between the doctor and going to center.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, but actually write all that down and then come home from center and then you can paint.
Yep.
And splash in the basin. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because he still gets it.
Yeah.
Right. In the end, he still gets his reward. He still gets his reinforcement.
Right, but he's just anxious about it because he doesn't get it at the regular time. And if he starts to escalate, just go to a different activity.
And oftentimes it's because they don't think they're going to get it at all.
Right. Okay.
That the doctor's appointment is replacing the painting and the splashing, right?
Right.
Where really it's not replacing it, it's just pushing it down.
Right. Okay. Okay. Because sometimes I think that when we're in that escalation mode, that's when I have my issues.
Yeah.
The tantrum, after the tantrum happens, I'm relieved
Right.
because I'm like, okay, the tantrum happened. And usually he won't have a tantrum for a while after one tantrum.
Yeah.
But I get stuck in the escalation mode and dealing it with, as it's escalating, I'm thinking, oh my God, here comes a tantrum or an extinction burst. And a therapist pointed out something very interesting to me about extinction bursts. She said, how long do extinction bursts usually last? Let's talk about that. It was at Pierce, in fact, which Wyatt has been doing. And she said, but let's talk about the extinction burst. How many times does an extinction burst usually happen? It usually happens very few times, right, Vince?
Right. Depends on where he is with his behavior change, but yeah, it could last weeks, it could last a day, it could last an hour. I mean, every child's different, but
Okay.
when you see that escalation go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he hits the top right away. Sometimes they're going to keep pushing until they realize that the consequences or the routines aren't going to change back to what they want it to be, and then it drops down to them following through with what the new replacement behavior is.
Right.
Well, and one of the things that was told to me, and I don't remember if it was you, Vince, or somebody else, that when we were having behavior, and I look back now and I go, okay, well, that was an extinction burst, this, and you can look at it afterwards and go, oh, that's what that was. But because I would start to feel that thing of, oh no, what's happening? What am I supposed to be doing? And being overwhelmed, was they gave me something else to do,
Oh.
not just distracting them, give me something. Because instead of having those thoughts, I was distracted by, and the thing that they told me about extinction bursts, instead of thinking, oh no, this is happening, my life is terrible, that my thoughts could be like, woohoo, this means it's almost over.
This means it's almost over.
This means we're almost at the end, and I'm not going to have to deal with this.
That was a good reminder for me that an extinction burst is not going to last forever, and these are just ways of changing behavior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vince, we love you.
Thank you, Vince.
You're amazing, and you're always such a wealth of knowledge. And we want to remind everybody that if there are card clients, that they can avail themselves of your services, and they can have an opportunity to speak to you, and that you also are someone who's very involved with the individual offices, that you have family support experts that you oversee at each one of the offices. Where should people go to if they have an issue that they want to talk out with you, Vince?
They can email me at any time.
Okay.
Anytime.
And so do you want to give your email out to or do we just assume that the card clients already have your email?
Never assume.
They might, right? Never assume. Right, you're right. Okay.
It's v.redmond, REDMOND, at centerforautism.com.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Vince.
So
Thanks
much
for your
Vince.
advice
We appreciate
today.
you.